Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Wan Muhammad Hakimi bin Wan Hanafi, and my network number is 215571. And my topic for group discussion is about Millah Abraham in Malaysia. So let us proceed. What is Millah Abraham? So Millah Abraham is one of the David teachings that comes from Bogor, Indonesia, and also known as Al-Qiyadah Al-Islamiyah teaching or Gerakan Fajar Nusantara Gafata. They claim that the teachings of Islam brought by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, have ended since the year of 1324 with the fall of the Abbasid Empire as a result of the Mongol invasion of Baghdad. At the highlight of the invasion is when Islamic treasure books have been thrown into the water, river, and lost from human civilization. And according to them, the Islam has already corrupted since then. And the founder of this teaching was Ahmad Musaddiq. He's an Indonesian who had claimed to be the new apostle who was raised to renew the teachings of Islam. So, what is Millah Abraham is famous for? Of course, the new interpretation of Al-Quran. So this type of interpretation was originated from Pondok Pesantren Az-Zaitun in Indramayu in West Java. Then the interpretation of Al-Quran was not following the Islamic knowledge discipline, thus leading to more astray teaching, and was further carried out by Millah Abraham. On 5th April 2016, the 28th Sarawak State Fatwa Board meeting discussed the teachings of Millah Abraham and decided that the understanding and the teachings of Millah Abraham are deviant and contrary to the teachings of Islam. So next. So my group has listed 3 characteristics of this teaching, which the first one I'll be explaining in the next slide. Okay, the first characteristic of Millah Abraham is that they claim that there is another messenger of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This happened after Ahmad Musaddiq claimed to be guided by Prophet Musa, Prophet Isa, and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them. After he secluded himself for 40 days at Mountain Bunker, Bogor, West Java on 23rd of July 2007, and he then started to preach by using Al-Quran and Bible, translated into Indonesian, of course, and was quickly accepted in West Sumatra, East Java, Yogyakarta, Riau, and Sulawesi state. And Ahmad Musaddiq also claimed that he received the revelation in the form of the true way of interpreting and understanding the Al-Quran, and he was also known as the final messenger or Al-Masih Al-Maud that will bring the true religion named Millah Abraham. I thank you for listening, and I pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nabi Ashadul Azbani Zikiki, 211833, and I will be continuing this presentation. For the second characteristic of Millah Abraham that is deviated from the mainstream of Islamic teaching and belief, they, however, merge 3 teachings of religions, which are Islam, Christianity, and also Judaism. We can see this problem originated when they misinterpret the Quran, and it also has affected their beliefs. Basically, Millah Abraham is one of the teaching that applies syncretism, which is the union of various religious rituals and beliefs, which means in this case, we will see that in this teaching, it will have many intersection of beliefs related to the religions mentioned earlier. Furthermore, Millah Abraham is closely relating Islam with other 2 older revealed Abrahamic religions, which is Christianity and Judaism. At the same time, we also should know that those 2 religions also were originated from the same one true God, which is Allah, but was astray after a long period of time. Thus, this subpoint will be also related to the third subpoint, which is Millah Abraham used Torah and Bible as additional divine sources although it was already corrupted by previous nations. This clearly happened in relation with the wrong interpretation of Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 46, and the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse number 17. Based on this ayah, they believe that Al-Quran has approved both previous scriptures as guidance. Yes, it is true, Quran mentioned that, but it only refers to the original teaching and the scriptures, not the corrupted one. Next, I will show you the image of today's Torah and Bible. The Torah is in a scroll form, while the Bible is in book form. For information, Torah, also known as Old Testament or Pentateuch, contain 5 books, which are the books of Genesis, book of Exodus, book of Leviticus, book of Numbers, and book of Deuteronomy. Meanwhile, the Bible, or New Testament, is mostly believed to contain only 73 books by the Catholic, and 7 books were rejected by the Protestant, as it is considered as apocryphal or doubtful. That left us with only 66 books. Now, let's move to the third point, which is Millah Abraham leaves the Islamic pillars. If we meet them, we can see that they neglect the 5-time prayers, Friday prayers, and also fasting. However, they believe that they were still obliged to perform Qiyamul Layl, or what we should know as night prayers, sunrise prayers, and sunset prayers. Regarding to this issue, they have taken Allah's command from the Quran directly. We are following the Islamic Sharia of Ibadah. Not to forget, their praying time is almost similar to the Jews, as they also pray 3 times a day, which is at sunrise, or known as Shacharit, and at the afternoon until sunset, also as known as Mincha, and lastly, the evening or the night prayers known as Ma'arib. And as an additional point, they also have added a new laws in their teaching. For example, they can atone for their sins by paying a certain amount of money or certain percentage of their money to Ahmad Musaddiq as a prophet. This was based on the characteristic on the Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22, verse 78. And that's all from me. Thank you. I will pass the mic to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Arif bin Ahmad Suhaimi, and my matrix number is 210210. Now, I'm going to continue our presentation with the next required content, which is the relation between our characteristics that was just presented before and religious liberalism or religious pluralism. But for us, we chose to relate with religious liberalism. Alright, so first, before we go further, what is actually religious liberalism? Alright, so here is the definition of religious liberalism. But before that, let's take a look at the definition of liberalism itself. So liberalism means the idea of freedom. It means like you can do anything based on your desire. You are free to do anything you want. You are free to wear what you want. You are free to think how you want. So that's liberalism. But what is religious liberalism? Religious liberalism is defined as a philosophy or ideology brought by the West that offered freedom of thought. Alright, freedom of thought. It means you are free to think the way how you want from the tradition and religious domains by using rational and empirical approaches. Alright, so it means basically in religion you can do or practice the religious practices based on your belief or based on what you think is right and not based on revelation. So actually they rejects revelation that is not aligned with the logical thinking of human. So that is religious liberalism. So next, so what kind of characteristics that makes Millah Abraham religious liberalism? So there are 2 points. The first is relating with the second point, all right, which is Millah Abraham. They merge the teachings of 3 religions, which are Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. So, related with point number 2, incorporate Islamic teachings with their understanding and using the other Abrahamic religion scriptures to interpret Islam. So this is very wrong, all right? This is not aligned with these true Islamic teachings because there's no such thing as merging between 3 faiths, all right? Because for example, for Islam, in Al-Quran, Allah said, A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim, Inna dina indallahil Islam. Surah Al-Azim, which means indeed based on Allah's side, Islam is the only way of religion or the only way of life that we can practice. So there's no such thing as merging between three religious teachings. So it is very wrong, and they are simply doing that just because of their desire, alright? Just based on their thinking and not based on revelation. And next, relating with the point number 3, so they leave or they reject the pillar of Islam or certain pillar of Islam. So it is actually very wrong. Alright, they simplify Islam, although Islam itself is already in its simplest form by neglecting some of Islamic pillars. So in hadith, Prophet Muhammad SAW said, "Bunyal Islam ala khamsin, syahadati an la ilaha illallah, wa asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, wa iqamis salah, wa ita'iz zakah, wa hajjil bait, wa shawmi Ramadan." Which means the Islamic teaching is built based on the 5 foundations, alright, which is the 5 pillars of Islam. But they are neglecting them. So that act is very wrong because it is really against the Islamic teaching. Even the Islamic pillar is already simple, but they still neglect and leave the Islamic pillars. So they just do it based on their own thinking. Lastly, in conclusion, Millah Abraham is deviated, alright, not only because of its way of belief, but also its conduct is heretics. Alright, the conducts are also wrong, not just because of their belief, but also their conduct. For example, like they leave many of Islamic teachings, such as the one that I previously stated before, the pillar of Islam, and also they merge, alright, the practice between Islamic teaching, Judaism, and also Christianity, which is very wrong. Millah Abraham is straight from the true path of Islam, as it is the divine revelation without the Islamic discipline of knowledge, which makes them interpreting Islam wrongly. For example, like they interpret what is salah. For them, salah is when we do something, we sacrifice something for Millah Abraham. So basically, that is a very wrong interpretation, alright? Because in hadith, Prophet Muhammad SAW clearly stated that you pray based on how I pray, alright? And Prophet Muhammad never pray like that. Not only that, they also use the syncretism way for their teachings conduct as they combine other Abrahamic beliefs that was already corrupted before Islam. Alright, so that is from me and my group. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.